Okay, Marcia? We're ready. Okay. Thank you. I'd like to call to order the City of Riviera Beach City Council public briefing on COVID-19 on Thursday, June 25th. The time is 6:30 p.m. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Ronnie Felder. Chairperson Julia Botel.
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Douglas Lawson. Councilperson Trodrick McCoy. Was that you, Mr. Lawson?
Yes, ma'am. That's me, Ms. Anthony.
Okay, thank you. Councilperson Trodrick McCoy. Councilperson Shirley Lanier. Councilperson Kashamba Miller Anderson. City Manager Jonathan Evans.
Present.
City Clerk Claudia Anthony is present. City Attorney Don Wynn.
Here.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Anthony.
you.
Hello, everyone. This is Marcia Noel, Assistant to the City Manager and your moderator for tonight's community teleconference call. We thank each and every one of you that has joined us this evening for COVID-19 updates regarding city operations. We're going to begin with staff reports from those who are working in our Emergency Operations Center, and then afterwards we will open it up for any comments, remarks, or questions from our elected officials. We'll go ahead and begin with opening remarks from our City Manager, Jonathan Evans.
Thank you, Ms. Noel, and thank you, members of the City Council and staff. Obviously, we have seen that this virus has continued to grow, specifically here in Palm Beach County. The numbers that you will hear from Chief Curd will show that there has been exponential growth in the county, and the numbers in Riviera Beach as it relates to confirmed cases has continued to grow. We are still continually providing information, education, and assistance to our residents, whether it's in the form of food distribution, surgical mask giveaways, cloth mask giveaways, and we will continue to do so. Speaking on cloth masks, the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners provided direction to the county administrator to move forward with Emergency Order Number 12. Emergency Order Number 12 provides guidance and direction to not just government entities, but businesses in Palm Beach County as it relates to wearing face coverings, basically making it a requirement to wear face coverings in all areas where social distancing cannot be adhered to. So individuals that may be visiting the grocery store and pharmacies, individuals that are clerks at certain businesses, and definitely those that are serving food and beverages at restaurants are required to wear the face coverings unless they fall under some of the exemptions that are provided in the emergency order. Being that the county has taken such swift and decisive legislative action, the City of Riviera Beach is going to continue and even re-emphasize the importance of wearing facial coverings and to make sure that our residents have access to face coverings. As the community is well aware, we've probably distributed more than 60,000 surgical or cloth masks, and the number probably is close to maybe 70,000 at this particular point, where there is target distribution that is happening in neighborhoods, and the Health and Human Services Section Chief will provide additional clarity and direction as it relates to that. Speaking as it pertains to city operations, I have provided a memorandum to staff basically prohibiting any access to facilities of critical significance, such as our municipal fire stations, police department, and utility district. This is to ensure that individuals that are not scheduled to be providing service in any of those facilities refrain from visiting those facilities. That is intended to make sure that we don't have a situation that adversely impacts our operations and our ability to serve the community. We've also heard from elected leadership at the state, federal level that this pandemic and this virus is here to stay. There is no discussions with regards to shutting down or not moving into subsequent phases. I think the phasing will probably slow down. However, the operations and the businesses that are currently up and operational will continue to be up and operational, as we don't see any desire from policymakers on the state and federal level and on the county level to rescind previous decisions to move into subsequent phases. This is something that we are consistently monitoring and watching, and we believe that the increase associated with the cases in Palm Beach County and the city of Riviera Beach is based on two factors. One, there is multiple communities that are still doing testing. There is testing that is occurring virtually in every municipality in Palm Beach County, and if not in every municipality, within close proximity, within 5 miles of any municipal boundary, you can certainly find testing that is provided. So you're having increase in testing, but we have seen that the opening of operations, the openings of restaurants and shops and the mall and the like have certainly increased the opportunity for the exposure of COVID-19. So what we have done is identified which facilities will be off limits. We will still be operating in a phased one operation model. City staff is there to provide services at some of our facilities, and appointments are required to be able to conduct business with city staff on site. We certainly would encourage those that are interested in receiving services for us, if we can do it in a digital means, that is the preferred approach that we look to move forward with. We've also heard from the CDC as early as today that individuals over the age of 65 and older are at an increased risk with the numbers going up, as well as those that have sickle cell are also going to be added to that vulnerable population that could see challenges in the event that they are exposed to COVID-19. Our relationship with American Care still remains intact. We are consistently testing all our employees, those that are voluntarily submitting to testing and those that we have requested that they proceed forward with testing. I have authorized and requested that all individuals at the utility district go through the testing protocols and procedures just based on the number of cases that we've seen in that specific operation. As it relates to the organization holistically, we have probably had less than, I would say less than a dozen confirmed cases in the organization. So we are certainly acutely aware of what is going on. We're making sure that individuals are practicing social distancing, that they are wearing surgical masks, that if there's any concerns that they have, that management does everything in our power to make sure that the social distancing guidelines are provided and protected and keeping our employees safe at all costs. We have also encouraged employees that in the event that they are not exhibiting symptoms but just want to proceed forward with getting a test, that they are to go ahead and do so, just for the peace of mind sake, as we all know that this is a stressful time for a lot of our employees. In the midst of what is going on, we are also ramping up our hurricane preparation activities and being able to prepare and what our models look like in the event that we have an activation during a pandemic. We are also building out what models our staffing would look like. We did move to an alternative staffing model that talks about primary on-site, primary off-site, remote, hybrid, which are individuals that either work in the office or work off-site for specific times of the week. And then we have individuals that are on reserve status. We're going to be looking at the staffing model and looking to bring forward some recommendations as part of the budget conversations with the council as to how we can continue to facilitate a different model to provide services here in this new norm. And so we're making sure that, one, we have the technological resources to assist in deploying the model, as well as how can we ensure accountability. And so IT is building out a model for us to look at that drives productivity and accountability in the event that we look to remove some departments and make them completely remote or in a hybrid situation. Related but unrelated, we did receive additional information from the property appraiser's office that the increase in property values for the city of Riviera Beach moving into fiscal year 2021 is 6.97%, which is higher than what the county is, so that is a good sign. However, the property appraiser said that a lot of the transactions and business that we would normally see in our economy are slowing down exponentially when you're talking about retail, commercial, and that plan for next year to be a flat year. So we are looking at the long-term sustainability of certain operations, and we are having the conversations internally about creating a division that is a ad hoc division that serves as the Health and Human Services division that you know today, being a complement or an item that is a part of the fiscal year 2021 budget. Because as we know, as we get closer to flu season and no real treatment protocols and no cure or vaccine anywhere on the immediate horizon, that COVID-19 will be with us and it will impact us in flu season. So we are seeing a situation where hospitalization is going up, the amount of positive cases are going up, and we need to be prepared for what our service delivery models are. I'm having a conversation with city managers tomorrow to have a more holistic discussion about what local governments are doing to prepare for a longer deployment of resources and what the long-term implications and budgetary impacts would be associated with COVID-19. So I thank you, Council Chair Botel and members of the council, and I turn the presentation back over to you, Ms. Noel, for subsequent reports.
Thank you.
Before we continue, I believe I unmuted a line. If you can please announce yourself. I think it was another council person.
Yes, Roderick McCoy, good afternoon.
Thank you. So just for the record, we have Councilman McCoy on the line. All right, we'll continue. We'll start with our section, or continue with our section chief report. We'll begin with the operations chief, Chief Kurd.
Good evening, everyone. John Kurd, interim fire chief, serving as the operations section chief. Very difficult time putting together the discussion tonight, trying to find the silver lining in what is very difficult to do, looking at the numbers and trying to remain completely objective to the data and looking deeper into what is actually happening. To go over the numbers, in the state of Florida, we are now at 114,018 cases since the onset of the pandemic, with 3,327 deaths reported. In Palm Beach County, we are at 11,536 total cases, with 482 deaths reported. In Riviera Beach proper, we are at 124 confirmed cases. To try to put what's happening into perspective, and I'm going to do my best to try to elaborate what is an exponential growth. In the last 10 days to 2 weeks, we've had over 30 to 40,000 new cases in the state of Florida. In the last 2 weeks, we've had nearly a 40% increase in the total number of cases. We've been battling this for now 4 months, and in the last 2 weeks, we've almost come to close of double what the number of cases are, 50% increase. So it is an exponential growth. We've seen, and please be mindful, as I've always mentioned with the media, they love to throw out these numbers to either make you feel good. The reality is the percentage of positive cases in the last 2 weeks has ranged as low as 6% to 18.2%. They will tell you what the average looks like, and we're below that target of 10% at 9.1, but they're trying to factor in everything since the beginning. We have to stop looking at COVID in its totality. We have to start looking at COVID on what is it doing week by week, day to day, because it doesn't matter what happened in February and March and in April. We need to start putting focus and emphasis on what's happening right now at this moment. That has been agreed upon in the EOC at Palm Beach County, where they're going to look at how they give the data, and instead of looking at these cumulative numbers, because these cumulative numbers are almost like the national debt. You're just watching this number increase. It's not going to slow down anytime soon, but we need to put emphasis on how can we attempt to slow this down in the very near future and really focus on the here and now. Incident Commander Evans, our city manager, had referenced the emergency order 2020-12 with the masks. We want to make sure that we're going to continue to support that, and we're going to do everything in our power to continue to prevent the spread of COVID-19. But I hate to tell you today, we have lost this war. We will not stop COVID-19. What we need to learn to do is support, manage, and provide for those individuals that are truly concerned, those individuals that fall into those risk factors, those individuals that fall into those groups of conditions that put them at increased risk. We've had 2 consecutive days of over 5,000 cases alone in the state of Florida. We're not going to be able to stop this, but what can we do to slow this down, and what can we do to protect our vulnerable at-risk population? And I believe that Mr. Evans' operations planning and the team as a whole has put a good plan together to support those who choose to receive and accept that report. We're looking at putting together COVID education compliance teams, which I'm sure Mr. Bailey will talk about in his presentation. There is a lot of work going in behind the scenes to help pivot and look at how can we manage and support this event, because we've lost the war. We will not stop it. We are continuously monitoring our ALF and senior centers. I can tell you that they are doing extremely well. There are the 1 or 2 pop-up cases. We did have one facility where there was a small cluster. We immediately responded in force with staff, PPE. We've also included Palm Beach County's health department and the state. We've gotten a lid on that, and I'm happy to announce that as of today, there were no additional new cases at that facility, so it looks like we've actually been able to stop it at that facility. COVID-19, and this is just from what I'm hearing from my groups and my personal opinion, is it's not a matter of if you get it, it's going to be when you get it. Because this isn't just a short term. We're going to roll through the summer. We have hurricane season coming up that could pose some additional concerns and issues, and then we'll be right back into flu season all over again. So we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Mr. Evans mentioned that at-risk age group of 65 and older. Well, CDC has actually now stripped that number away. It's not now a marker where you're above or below. The CDC has simply said your risk increases with age. The older you are, the more at risk you are to develop serious reactions to the coronavirus. I did mention about hurricane season. The city of Riviera Beach is in the midst of preparations on what hurricane season would look like in the midst of a pandemic. And we're also working with Palm Beach County School Board and the EOC on sheltering options, capacities, and space configurations. And we will continue to work on that as we move through hurricane season. With that, I turn it back over to you, Ms. Noel, with no additional reports.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from our planning section chief, Mr. Bailey.
Good evening, Council. Terrence Bailey, Public Works Director and your planning section chief. As mentioned by Chief Curd, the COVID education compliance team is a county-wide initiative whereby small strike teams go into the business community and assist them in operations, making sure that those businesses can safely operate, accept the public, and maintain distancing, masks, sanitation stations, and other protective measures such as that. The city is looking to stand up this team and deploy them rapidly, as well as have online services so that the community will know which businesses have complied with the checklists for the CEC team and which have not. So they'll have a level of comfort as they continue to browse, shop, and try to get back to some semblance of normalcy. We'll have more to report on the CEC team next week in our community report, and that is your planning report.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from our finance chief, Mr. Sherman.
Good evening, everyone. This is Randy Sherman, Finance Section Chief. City Manager already mentioned the fact that we did receive our property tax values for fiscal 2021. Again, we did come in higher than the county average, but then on the flip side, we have been told again by the property appraiser to prepare for next year when they anticipate at best flat rates. The concerns are obviously retail, restaurants, hotels. So again, they have provided us ample warning to prepare our 2021 budget with really 2022 in mind. We have also been informed that our state revenues, again, will be lower than they have been in the past few years. For 2020, they were effectively flat. They're actually a little bit below 2019, and we can expect 2021 to be even lower. As far as COVID-19 right now, we are up to about 8,400 hours and still on our way to $1.5 million of spending. I know in the past couple calls I have mentioned that on August 3rd, we will be returning back to normal utility operations. And we would like everybody to get their accounts up to date by that time. If you need assistance, again, please give us a call now during the month of July so we can prepare heading into August and we don't have any service interruption. And that ends my report, Ms. Noel. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from our Health and Human Services Section Chief, Mrs. Grimsley.
Good evening. This is Valerie Grimsley, YEP Director, acting as your Health and Human Services Section Chief. At this time, Health and Human Services continue to provide food distributions once a week on Fridays at Wells Recreation through Feeding South Florida. To complement the Friday's food distribution, Health and Human Services provides delivery grocery boxes to senior residents and those families without transportation on Wednesdays through a partnership through Living Hungry Incorporated. Mass distributions are ongoing throughout the city. Currently, there are 2 mass distributions scheduled for June 30th at Sonoma Bay and July 1st at Marsh Harbor. These mass distributions are scheduled from 4:30 to 6 p.m. in the evenings. Mass distributions have also been held at Villa Franciscan Senior Living Facility, Heron Estates, Stony Brooks, Wells Recreation, Cunningham Park, and the CRA Ambassador Center. Currently, the city has 18,000 masks in stock. Those include cloth and disposable masks. 10,000 of those masks were provided at no cost through Palm Beach County. To enhance our efforts to reach all citizens of Riviera Beach, Health and Human Services team is preparing a plan to strategically distribute masks throughout the city. This plan will be provided to City Manager Mr. Evans for approval prior to implementation. Health and Human Services, in addition, has partnered with Councilman Lawson to provide mental health group sessions to youth ages 12 to 18. These sessions began today, and they're held between the hours of 10:30 and 12 by way of Zoom. They will continue through August the 6th, and that is your Health and Human Services report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from our Yes?
This is Councilman Douglas Lawson. I was seeing if I would be able to comment on that, or do you want me to wait till the end of the reports?
Yes, let's wait till the end, and then afterwards you can share your remarks. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Noel. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from our Leisure Services Beach Group Leader, Ms. Frank.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Noel. Good evening, everyone. Radio Frank, Director of Parks and Recreation, our Leisure Services Group Leader for our Incident Command Team. The operating hours for our Mr. Beach are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Sunday. Our monitoring teams are on site throughout the week and on the weekend. The team includes our Parks and Recreation beach monitors, our police personnel, and our ocean rescue team. For your safety, our monitors will continue to enforce, remind, and ensure that CDC guidelines as it relates to COVID-19 are adhered to. Those will include social distancing, standing 6 feet, wearing a mask, washing hands, using hand sanitizer, etc. Our beach restrooms and facilities are cleaned and sanitized throughout the day, and there's also on-site parking. Before you head out, please don't hesitate to check out our dashboard at www.rivierabeach.org. Remember, I always have to say this, let's continue to work together so we can stay healthy together. Yes?
I'm sorry, I heard a lot of feedback. There's a lot of feedback. They have their phone on mute.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, there we go. We were having some issues hearing you. If you can continue, thank you.
Thank you. Again, our beach restroom facilities are available and cleaned and being sanitized throughout the day, and we have on-site parking. Before you head out to our beautiful beach, please feel free to check out our city's dashboard at www.rivierabeach.org. And I always want to share, let's continue to work together so we can all stay healthy together. And that concludes my update, Ms. Noel. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from our legal section chief, Ms. Nguyen.
Good evening. This is Dawn Nguyen, City Attorney. As Mr. Evans and I believe Chief Kurtz stated, the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners on this past Tuesday voted unanimously to require masks throughout the county, both in unincorporated and incorporated Palm Beach County. This means that all cities, including the city of Riviera Beach, are included in this order. Facial coverings must be worn by all persons in public places where social distancing is not possible. There are a few exceptions to the mask requirement. However, it is required that masks, unless you fall into one of those exceptions, it's required that masks be worn in restaurants, retail stores, hotels, grocery stores, gyms, pharmacies, indoor recreational facilities, and vehicles for hire such as taxis, Uber, or Lyft. This also includes that masks be worn in the common areas within private communities. Masks continue to be required in all city-owned buildings. Businesses are also required to comply by posting signage regarding the requirements to wear masks. There will be fines associated with the failure to comply with this executive order. The order went into effect today and expires July 24th unless it's further extended by the county. Additionally, the governor also issued Executive Order 20-150, which extends his previous orders regarding virtual council meetings. We are allowed to continue to have virtual city council meetings until August 1st, 2020, unless, again, the governor extends that order. And that is all from the legal section.
Thank you. Next, I'll provide the communications report. We continue to provide communication services in regards to COVID-19, but in addition, we know that we are also carrying on with other activities that are of priority to the city, one of which is the census. We have been allocating some time and resources to come up with a plan that we believe will assist us in hopefully increasing the response in our city. Some of those activities that we've been able to implement at this point include physical signage, which comprise of 12 8x3 street banners that have been placed strategically alongside various roads in the city that we believe would have high visibility. We've also planted 50 neighborhood yard signs for the census to encourage neighborhoods to participate in the census. We've designed and created flyers specific to the mass distribution, where we're also assisting the community with completing the census. We're in the process of putting together what we would consider a call center, where dedicated staff would take some time to reach out through a phone list to members of the community to encourage residents to take the census and to also assist anyone who may be having trouble completing the census. In addition, we plan to hopefully release a promotional video to help demonstrate and communicate the significance of the census to the community. We're going to also consider utilizing electronic signages, sending out educational and encouraging material to challenge our residents to take the census, in addition to meeting with elected officials to speak on to discuss how we can utilize the platforms and opportunities that our elected body may have in terms of reaching out to your constituents and encouraging them as well to participate in the census. So we understand we only have a few months left before the census ends, and we want to make sure that we provide adequate time and effort during this period to really maximize the resources, the relationships, and the communication tools that we have for this initiative. With that, that completes my communications report. And lastly, we'll be hearing from our information technology section, Mr. Parzielli.
Thank you, Marcia. Good evening, everyone. Tony Parzielli, Director of Information Technology. We continue to support all of our users, whether they be on site or working remote. The mix of that user types has started to change as some staff have been coming back in the office, but there's still a significant remote and hybrid population that is using equipment remotely from home. We have started to see some of the technology equipment with better availability than just a couple of weeks ago, and we hope that that trend continues and the premium associated with getting equipment starts reducing. I want to stress that everyone to please be careful opening emails, opening attachments, clicking on links. The scammers out there with malware have become very good at disguising their emails and with some enticing information on COVID cures, vaccines, free testing, etc. A lot of there are some legitimate, but there are a lot of scams out there. Our city computers have virus and anti-spam and malware protection on them, and we are just seeing an incredible increase in the amount that are being quarantined as they come in as known viruses and spamware. For those citizens online, I'd certainly advise everyone to make sure your home computer has a virus and anti-malware protection on it, and your updates are up to date on that so that you're protected. Everybody be safe, and that's the end of my report, Marcia.
Thank you. Now that completes our staff report. Now we'll move into any comments, remarks, or questions from our elected officials. We'll begin with our chair, Dr. Patel.
Thank you. Could we start with Doug Lawson, because I think he has something to say about his project. Thanks.
That's fine.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. Marcia. Thank you both. I appreciate you. Ms. Grimsley, thank you again for taking on the initiative of this program for the mental health for our kids. I had a conversation with East Allen from Mind Over You, and I was making a recommendation that we possibly move the time a little bit later to looking at an afternoon time, because with summer hours, with kids not having to wake up in the morning, I just know that start time may be a little earlier before these kids are willing to wake up. So that would be my recommendation for staff to look at possibly getting a later start time for them to get more of an engagement from the kids, because I really want to hit as many kids as possible to focus on and assist them with this mental health during this pandemic we're experiencing.
Yes, Mr. Lawson, we did move it to 2 o'clock.
2? Perfect.
2 to 3 o'clock. Yes, and that will start next week.
And then if you could just send me the
changing the name to Just Let Me Speak, so that the students don't feel like it's a mental health group and other students, don't find a way to bully those students for going to a mental health group. So it will be
and Ms. Allen did approve that name.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much, Ms. Grims. I appreciate all the work you're doing. And if you guys need me, please call me, or if you just let me know the time and the information and the call information. I'd love to, if I can be involved as well, I'd love to be on.
Okay. Will do.
Thank
you, Mr. Mr. McCoy, do you have something to say? Councilman McCoy?
Okay. Keeping it out.
Thank you. I just want to say that I'm so proud of the city's residents who have complied very completely with the CDC guidelines to keep our numbers lower. I think we are lower than many of our surrounding communities, and I'm very proud of our city for having done that, and I'm proud of our city administration who have made over 60,000 masks available to our citizens. I think that's been great, and I really appreciate that, and I'll toss it back to you. Oh, one more thing. In addition to the census, if we could ask people to please submit their responses to the city survey, it would be very helpful in terms of our understanding of where our citizens need for us to go. So I toss that back to you, Marcia Noel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And with that being said, if there's no further comments from our elected officials, then we will adjourn. With that being said, thank you everyone for joining us for another community teleconference. We will have the next conference call next week, Thursday at 6:30. That will allow an opportunity for residents to ask questions of staff. We look to see you soon. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.